We interrupt this program to bring you this special live report from Eyewitness News.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Stan Olenek here at Clemson. Dr. Bill Atchely, Clemson University president, very shortly will be making a formal statement, also announcing corrective actions, disciplinary actions, and an accreditation program which he wants to use to make Clemson a model university. Of course, all of this is coming in the wake of yesterday's announcement by the NCAA that Clemson would be on 2 years probations with quite heavy sanctions. Now, in addition to that, the ACC sanctions are available today. They are more severe than Clemson had anticipated. Well, not anticipated, but at least more severe than the NCAA had in fact given out. Also, there is a reorganization in the Clemson athletic department. There are some shuffling going on as far as job titles and perhaps classifications and duties. Now, very shortly, we'll be joining the podium for Dr. Atchely. Right now, Harry Durham, the public relations director at the university, is introducing the president of Clemson, Dr. Bill Atchely. Let's go to the podium.
Thank you very much, Harry. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Clemson. Thank you for all coming. I guess I should apologize for all those people out in radio and TV land that are missing their favorite soap opera and other programs and wondering why I'm here. But if they, I'll just apologize and hope they'll bear with us. This has been a trying 2 years for all of us. I've expressed my appreciation many times to our students, our faculty, our alumni, our staff, and supporters for all their patience. I also want to thank the news media for the patience and understanding you've shown. For reasons I hope to make clear today, I haven't always been able to answer every question you raised during this long and very complex process. Rules and regulations by NCAA prevented that. But because of that, there have been some unusual and a number of rumors, statements by unnamed sources, and frankly, just plain errors. I hope I can clear many of those up today in my questions and answer period and other statements made. Before my formal statement, I want to introduce some people and ask them to stand when I call their names. These people have represented certain areas and certain groups who have worked very hard for Clemson. Mr. Kenneth Cribb from Spartanburg, Clemson Board of Trustees. Dr. Clarence Hood, President of the Faculty Senate. Dr. Kirby Player, President of the Student Senate, or Bill Linton, the Vice President, who was with us. Mr. Rusty Donko, Greenville, President of the Clemson Alumni Association, and Reeves Gressett from Orangeburg, Representative Vipte. Dr. Victor Hurst, retired Vice President of Academic Affairs, who chaired the Special Internal Affairs Committee appointed last May, and a few of his other committee members are with him. If they'd stand, I'd appreciate that. Thank you very much. We appreciate all the support that these gentlemen have given to us and the important groups that they represent. Now for my formal statement. As you know, the NCAA announced yesterday the Clemson football program is being placed on 2 years probation. No bowl game for 1982 and 1983. Only 20 scholarships for the year of 1983 and 20 scholarships for the year 1984. No TV appearance in 1983 or 84, but we would be eligible to play in a bowl game after the regular season in 1984. This penalty comes after an investigation by the NCAA and Clemson, which turned up violations, most involving recruiting. For those of you who may not have the official copy of what was passed out or received today from NCAA and its violations, we will pass out later a complete copy as we received it from NCAA for your information. You will notice that individuals' names and where they live are not included. Again, that's keeping with NCAA policies. Before anyone jumps to any conclusion that these violations add up to an absolute, uncontrollable situation, let me give you a few personal observations and let you make up your own mind. 70% of the violations involved only 7 recruits over a 5-year period. Also, it's interesting to note that 40% of the violations involve people who are not employed by the university. And nearly 1/3 involve coaches who are no longer here at the university. These violations led to the NCAA penalty. We will not appeal the NCAA penalty for that decision. As I told NCAA in Chicago last month, their investigation and our investigation were characterized by the spirit of cooperation, mutual respect, fairness, and most importantly, the search for truth. I didn't go to NCAA, and I'm not here today to defend illegal or sloppy practices, several of which I want to point out date back to 1977 under a different coaching staff and 2 years before I came to Clemson. I do appear here today, as I did then, to tell you that Clemson is one university where athletics will play a proper role, where all the programs, athletic and academic, will be in the proper focus and the proper balance. And anybody who thinks the tail will wag the dog on this campus is in for a shock. In addition to the NCAA penalties, I'm announcing today that the ACC has laid a much heavier penalty on Clemson University. It contains no bowl games in 1982, 83, and 84, no share of conference revenues for football in 83 and 84, no television appearance for 83 and 84, will not be allowed to win the conference championship, or any games will go toward the conference championship. It also limits Clemson University to 20 scholarships in the year of 1983 and 20 scholarships in the year of 1984, the same as NCAA. I'm glad to set the record straight about the ACC penalties because there have been many incorrect statements, people reporting false statements about the length of probation, mandatory firings of people, and so forth. We have appealed the ACC decision, but so far we've come home empty-handed. Why did the ACC decide to impose such a severe penalty based on the same facts that NCAA had? I frankly do not have the explanation for that, and I can only refer you to them for a comment. I will say, and I know, ACC made their decision without the benefit of the complete picture. I just do not believe that we either didn't make it clear or they were unaware of the innovative steps and the positive steps that we have taken and will take in the future to correct our problems. The NCAA did have the full picture. We spent 3 days in Chicago, 12 hours per day, giving the entire picture to the NCAA in person. And we know for a fact that Clemson's credibility was completely restored after our presentation to the NCAA committee. Clemson is a charter member of ACC, and we believe it's a very fine conference. We believe Clemson University has put more into the conference than it's taken out. We're proud to be part of it, and we hope that our actions now and in the coming months will give the ACC some good reasons to review and reconsider the decision which they have placed upon us. Throughout these months, we've always kept one thing uppermost in our mind, and we feel is very important. There is no more important institution in America than the institution of higher learning. Nothing is more important to such institution than their integrity. Institutions like Clemson help preserve our culture and our heritage, and help create the knowledge that makes possible our progress and our better way of a quality life. We are a community of scholars. We're dedicated to the search for truth and the spirit of fair play. There is no place in this community for cheating in the classroom, the laboratory, or the playing field. Clemson can be superior. Clemson will be superior and remain a champion, both academically and athletically, and can do it without breaking any rules and regulations. And we're never going to lose sight that our responsibility to young people who come here, including those who come here to play sports and so on, that their responsibility is to get an education. There's perhaps no greater abuse of a young person than to bring that individual to college, use them for 4 years in an athletic program, and then forget about them. Our first order of business at Clemson is education, and we pride ourselves in the fact that 75% of our student athletes do get a degree, and a degree that's worth having. We also pride ourselves in the fact that our student athletes, after they have finished their 4 years of eligibility, are not just dropped, but that scholarship is continued as long as they make satisfactory progress toward graduation. That may be an unusual policy, but it's one that I feel that NCAA ought to make mandatory for all NCAA schools as another way to prevent the abuses in college sports today. As I said in a guest editorial in the New York Times this summer, I'm afraid many college presidents have learned that life's much easier if you wink at the abuses and go on about your business trying to run an educational institution. Well, the winking has gone on long enough. The time has come for college presidents to take a greater responsibility for athletics on their campus. To do otherwise is to risk an even greater erosion of the public trust of institutions of higher learning in this country. That's my position. That's the position of Clemson University. I haven't winked, and this university isn't going to wink at abuses of any kind by anyone connected with athletic programs or any other program at Clemson University. I'm interested in correcting our situation, but in such a way that we can establish a model for others across the country to follow. As I've said to some of my colleagues across the country, and I've told the NCAA people in Chicago, if after all the time and resources and efforts that went into the investigation on NCAA's part, on Clemson University's part, and so on, and if NCAA, Clemson, and athletics aren't better off after having gone through this, then we wasted a lot of money and time. In a few minutes, I'll discuss some of the new procedures and organizational ideas that will streamline our athletic program, but more importantly, which enables Clemson to go beyond just the simple enforcement, but reach higher, and that higher goal of preventing abuses in the future. This overall means that my office, while it won't be in the business of running the athletic program, will provide direct oversight to the athletic operation. This overhaul will require a new kind of leadership from the Clemson athletic program. It will be the kind of new approach to running the program that's demanded by both the complexity of major college sports today and their tremendous potential for schools like Clemson tomorrow. It will provide new methods needed to correct the deficiencies that have been brought up on us, and has also brought the microscope of NCAA upon Clemson University over the past 2 years and twice in the past 7 years. As I have said earlier, it will enable us to shift the focus from enforcement after the fact and to put the focus on preventing violations and cutting them off before an epidemic. I'd like to conclude my formal statement with some comments directly to the Clemson family, our students, our faculty, staff, alumni, thousands of supporters throughout this country and state. The events of this day and the probation we now face presents an adversity to Clemson University. But there's a group of young people who have shown us time and time again how to deal with adversity and disappointment. In fact, they're the ones affected mostly by the penalties in which we bear. Of course, I'm talking about those young men on our football team and very fine young people. Their great victory last Saturday was a proof again that they can deal with adversity as they have dealt with adversity every week this entire season. They have shown us how a champion goes to victory, how a champion can overcome defeat, and how champions in times of bitter disappointment can win. By their actions and attitudes, they remind us of our heritage. Clemson University and Clemson people are known for their courage, their high standards of achievement, and their contributions of talent and thought to the affairs of our state and this nation. This is the institution of Thomas Green Clemson, and of graduates like Captain Frank Jervey, Walford Bill Camp, Banks McFadden, Major Rudolph Anderson, Strom Thurmond. This is a place where great leaders and great teachers have given their service. Men like Charles Carter Newman, Sam Earle, Frank Howard, John Lane, and Jimmy Burns. Clemson people everywhere have a great tradition to uphold, a tradition of pride, integrity, courage, and the ability to overcome adversity. As Clemson people, a special people, we will turn adversity into opportunity. We will stand tall. We will have greater unity than ever before. We will support each other, because no matter what NCAA or ACC or anyone else does, nothing can defeat the desire and determination of the Clemson family. And people are always going to know we are where we are and who we are, because we're always going to be national champions in everything we choose to do. Thank you very much, and that's the end of my formal statement. Now I want to cover some procedural financial steps that have been taken in light of the results of our investigation. The chart on my left deals with the corrective actions and institutional controls. The operation of a recruiting reps, we have developed methods for the athletic department to list all recruits and representatives and so on, and these must be reported at all times. The faculty chairman is to hold annual seminars for recruiting representatives, go over rules, and focus on problem areas at all times. There will be strict compliances required, and compliances required for those people to certify that they have knowledge of the rules. Violators will not recruit, and severe action will be taken against each one of these. NCAA rule changes will be reported through IPTAY newsletter and other mailing sources. 2, records outside compensation for summer camps. All coaches must report to the president all outside money from exclusive contracts. Summer camps to provide a list of attendees and how much each paid, and a financial statement for that camp. 3, seminars for NCAA and ACC faculty chairmen. Annual mandatory seminars for the faculty will be provided by the chairman, ACC commissioner, and NCAA representatives. They will go over with the staff and the coaches and everyone involved in complete and understanding of the rules and regulations, and each individual will be required to certify their attendance at that seminar. Rules orientation for each new athletic department employee will have to go through the same procedure. Financial aid controls. Annual reports to the president of the institution. Institutional aid in each athletic area must be reported. All institutional aid administered by the financial office of the institution. Now I want to move into some corrective action. Corrective action that is dealing with recruiting first. An annual report must be given to the president, detailed report on recruiting activities and all recruits. They'll be computerized at all times. Each coach must keep all records and be available at any time at request. 2, new control system for visits and contacts. The official campus visits procedures will be: inform administrative assistant 10 days ahead of the official visit. Keep records on all visits. No cash to student hosts except by the administrative assistant. Travel arrangements will be made by the administrative assistant. All meals on campus if available. And all will stay in either Ramada or Holiday Inn or one of the inns, and direct billing to the athletic department will be made. And that direct billing will include rooms, meals, or any other expenses that are authorized. 3, telephone credit card control. Each coach that has a credit card on telephone will have to verify each call at the end of each month that is in regard to his credit card. 4, expense accounts reviews and audits. Periodic audits and internal reviews will be made by the state auditor and internal auditors, and each one will have to review the receipts and every expense and account for all. Program audits. Program audits are mandatory and must be regular. These audits are to look at the efficiency of the programs, the procedures, and so on that are being used in order to monitor it properly. Now I want to summarize some of the disciplinary action that I'm taking against individuals found guilty of violation. Let me say up front that I'm not going to reveal any names of individuals involved. That's keeping in with the Clemson standards and policies on this campus. But I will assure you the actions themselves have been and will be sufficient punishment for people involved without the added embarrassment of having their names paraded about in public. In each case, I've tried to be just and fair to make the punishment fit the infraction. On every decision I'm doing that I feel that has to be done will be done in the best interest of Clemson University and the people of South Carolina. The disciplinary action, many of which have already been taken, and some that which will be taken very soon, affect personnel from the very top level on down through the program. These actions cover direct violations as well as failure to exercise the proper administrative controls. And I will list just in general some of these actions. Probationary periods on some that last from 1 to 3 years. Salaries have been frozen and salary reductions that have ranged from 1 to 3 years. Prohibition against recruiting, 1 to 3 years. Reassignments of duties in some cases. Removal from football programs in some cases. Written official reprimands in many cases. And 3 players have been declared ineligible. But let me pause and explain that for a moment. I will only mention 1 player because that individual's name has been presented before in the papers. 2 of the players that were mentioned and were declared ineligible for postseason games and were for very, very minor infractions. It is thought that they will be declared eligible as soon as we apply. In the 3rd case, Mr. Homer Jordan, which, as most of you may remember, was withheld by me from the Kentucky game for a technical violation, but it was withheld and not made ineligible at that time. The choice of those words were chosen very carefully. If you make an individual ineligible, then the NCAA has to return the eligibility. If you withhold an individual from a contest, the executive officer has the privilege of restoring that individual. But in Homer Jordan's case, he was found by NCAA in a very slight technical infraction of the rules, which were none of his making. But NCAA rule says that any player that benefits with or without his knowledge is ineligible for extra benefits. In this case, Homer had no knowledge of that benefit. However, on November the 21st, I had to declare Homer Jordan ineligible, which was the day after the South Carolina game. And yesterday, I'm pleased to announce that the eligibility committee declared him eligible again because he had the proper punishment from being withheld from the Kentucky game. So Homer is now headed for the Mirage Bowl with the rest of the team. Penalties have also been handed down to 5 persons not employed in the athletic program. And for the record, only 2 of these 5 people are Clemson alumni. These penalties include severance indefinitely from all connections with the athletic program of 3 persons who served as representatives of the Clemson athletic interests. Severance for 5 years for 1 individual, and severance for 2 years for another who have served as representatives of the Clemson's athletic interests. At the end of these suspensions, there will be a review and a determination whether they should be continued in that category. Finally, I have sent letters of reprimand to all people who were mentioned, even with the slightest chance of infractions. I have sent them letters of reprimand indicating to them the importance of playing within the rules. As I said earlier, my evaluation of our athletic program, past performance as well as future potential for excellence, has convinced me of the need to reorganize the athletic department according to a carefully worked out plan and timetable to be developed later. Today, I'll give you only a general explanation because, frankly, many of the details still have to be worked out. But the events of the past month and my own evaluation indicate clearly that some changes are called for to strengthen our program. I'm going to use the chart to give you a broad outline of our organizational plan. Put it up. You'll put it up or you? I'll go ahead. As you can see, you may have to take this on this side here so I can stay into the microphone. As we have indicated, we have broken out the athletic program.
That's pretty much the completion of Dr. Atchely's prepared text here at Clemson University. Now it's a reorganizational process, reorganization of some of the top officials of the athletic department. We'll be staying here on the scene to bring that to you tonight at 6 o'clock, but that's all the time we have for now. Again, from Clemson, this has been Dr. Bill Atchely's formal press conference announcing Clemson's sanctions and his remedial action here at Clemson in the wake of the NCAA recruiting investigation into Clemson recruiting and those violations. I'm Stan Olenek for WSPA TV Eyewitness Sports Live here at Clemson.